Jake Thompson was a man who had always believed in keeping life simple. A single father living in a modest home in rural Texas, he had raised his daughter, Lily, on his own since she was a toddler. His life had never been easy, but he had a sense of pride in providing for her. He worked long hours as a mechanic, fixing cars and trucks in the small town where everyone knew everyone. But amidst the struggle, he had one thing that truly brought him joy: his Harley Davidson, a shiny black motorcycle he had restored from scratch. It wasn't just a bike, it was a symbol of freedom, of the life he had built for himself, and the connection to memories of his late wife, who had loved motorcycles just as much as he did. One night, Jake's world turned upside down. Lily fell seriously ill, her fever climbing higher than he had ever seen. The doctors were clear. She needed urgent treatment at a specialized children's hospital in Dallas, far beyond the town's limited facilities. The bills were astronomical, far beyond what Jake could ever afford. His hands shook as he stared at the stack of invoices, each one a harsh reminder of his helplessness. He paced the small living room, trying to think of a way out, but no solution came. Finally, with a heavy heart, he made a decision that crushed him to his core. Jake decided to sell his Harley. It was the only asset of significant value he had, and he knew that without it, he could pay for Lily's treatment and give her a chance at survival. He posted an ad online and, within hours, a buyer came by. The transaction was quick, but the emotional cost was immense. That night, Jake sat on the porch, staring at the empty spot in the driveway where his Harley used to be. He felt a deep, hollow sadness but reminded himself that Lily's life was more important than any possession. The next morning, exhausted from a sleepless night filled with worry, Jake stepped outside to catch a breath of fresh air. He barely had time to take it all in when the unmistakable sound of motorcycles filled the street. The rumble grew louder, echoing against the small houses in his neighborhood. He squinted down the road and his heart skipped a beat. A group of bikers was riding toward him, their leather jackets and intimidating presence unmistakable. They were Hell's Angels. Panic surged through him. He had never interacted with such people before, and the stories he had heard did not make him feel safe. The riders pulled to a stop in front of his house, their engines idling. Jake felt a cold sweat on his forehead as he stepped onto the curb, unsure whether to speak or run. The bikers dismounted, their boots heavy on the asphalt. Silence hung in the air, broken only by the faint hum of the engines. Jake's mind raced. Had he done something wrong? Was this some kind of threat? But then, one of the bikers stepped forward, holding something in his hand. Jake had no idea that the events about to unfold would change his life and restore his faith in human kindness in ways he never expected. Jake's heart pounded as the leader of the Hells Angels approached him, the morning sun reflecting off the chrome on their motorcycles. He could feel the weight of their gaze, and for a moment, panic threatened to take over. But the man simply extended a hand, holding a thick envelope. "For your daughter," he said in a deep, calm voice. Jake froze, unsure if he'd heard correctly. The envelope was heavy, filled with enough money to cover Lily's treatment several times over. His hands trembled as he accepted it, unable to speak at first. One of the younger bikers smiled faintly. "Heard what you did. Not many would give up something they love for family. That counts for a lot around here." Jake's throat tightened. He had never expected recognition from anyone, let alone a group known more for fear than kindness. The Hells Angels nodded to each other, the silent acknowledgement of respect clear in their gestures. Then, without another word, they mounted their bikes, engines roaring as they left down the quiet street, leaving Jake standing there stunned, clutching the envelope. Back inside, Jake sank into the worn couch, his hands shaking as he dialed the hospital. Relief washed over him when he was able to confirm the payments had cleared. Lily's treatment could begin immediately, and for the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to hope. He glanced around the living room, empty now without the Harley that had once been his pride. But in its place was something far greater, an unshakable gratitude and the realization that kindness often comes from the most unexpected places. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits, treatments, and cautious optimism. Lily, frail but smiling, started to regain strength. Jake stayed by her side day and night, often thinking about the bikers who had appeared like guardian angels when he needed help the most. He never saw them again, but the story of that morning became a quiet legend in the town. People talked about how the HELLS angels, feared by many, had shown a side rarely seen, a side of loyalty and honor that transcended reputation. As Lily recovered, Jake found himself reflecting on what truly mattered. The Harley had been important, yes, but it was never as valuable as the life of his daughter or the courage it took to put her first. He realized that sometimes, letting go of something you love is not a loss but an act of love itself. And in return, the world has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. One evening, sitting on the porch with Lily resting peacefully beside him, Jake looked down the street where the bikes had once appeared. A gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying the faint memory of engines and leather jackets. He smiled, knowing that moments of kindness, unexpected, powerful, and even intimidating, could change a life forever. That day, Jake didn't just save his daughter, he witnessed the unpredictable generosity of humanity, and it left him with a story he would tell for the rest of his life. A story of sacrifice, courage, and the unlikely heroes on roaring motorcycles.